Welcome back to episode 27 of the Fitness Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Mikulev, and today's show has been sponsored by the one and only Divine Physiques Coaching. I know it's been a little while since I've released one of these episodes, but I have been taking a little bit of break from the podcast just to do a bit more reflection and reprioritizing in terms of my life. But it's good to be back on this episode with Benny Huynh, who you will get to know in just a moment. Now, I know I might be jumping the gun a little bit here, but if you are listening on iTunes or SoundCloud, it'd really help to boost the show's ratings amongst the thousands of fitness podcasts out there. If you would kindly take 30 seconds right now to give the show a 5-star rating, that would be amazing. Of course, you can wait until the end of the show or during the show to decide if a topic in today's discussion resonates with you. However, I do need your help to help me get in front of more eyes and ears and ultimately help to continue to spread my message. So on that note, I hope you enjoy today's show. Guys, welcome back to episode 27 of the Fitness Mindset Podcast. I'm here with my buddy, Benny Huynh. How are you, Benny?
Good, Amanda. Thank you for having me on.
No worries, mate. Pleasure. So for those of you who have absolutely no idea who Benny is, Benny actually walked into the gym that I work at last week.
4 days ago, mate.
Is that all?
Something like that. Was it midweek or something? Or something?
Feels like a long
Cup
time
day.
ago now.
Yeah,
See, I feel like I've known
ages
you forever.
Yeah.
So Benny walked in.
Yeah.
Straight away, I kind of had a look at his jumper and I go, what did I say to you? Are you a powerlifter or are you from another
Yeah,
gym?
it's like, no, you were like, you powerlift. You're a powerlifter. With that, you pointed at my logo. So yeah, had the City Strength hoodie on.
That's it.
Sorry, JP, should have had my Strength Fortress on, but
Yes.
yeah, had a powerlifting hoodie on. Yeah, shame on me, huh?
So we connected. Yeah. We connected that way. We had a quick chat. You fell in love with me and then you signed up to the gym. And that's the end of it.
That's it. I was like, you know what?
Cool
You
cheek.
got me. Sold. Stop talking.
Let's
it.
Go.
Yeah,
but
done.
More importantly, so once you signed up, we had a really good chat afterwards.
Yeah, definitely.
And we found out you and I had a lot in common. And a lot of that was centered around mindset, and this is why you're here today. So
that's it. Here we are. Here we go.
So secondary school teacher, soccer coach to 12 to 17-year-olds.
Yep.
Former personal trainer, mate. What happened there? Why aren't you doing it anymore?
I think just the way the industry kind of grew. I was just like, you know, I really want to make an impact on people's lives. So like, I think with the industry, it was like more of a, there was a time when social media was getting up and about, and I think it was me more being naive or even just like had no idea how to market myself on social media. So my stream was more of a exercise science. I did study exercise science, and it was all about, as a trainer, I'm a lot about facts and true-based evidence, and none of this, 30-day booty program and such as that. I don't believe in that stuff. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what? I've had enough. I was sick of chasing clients. I was sick of people cancelling on me last minute, even though after heaps and heaps of personal development, I was like, you know what? I think it's time. Graduated university, finished, and I just wanted to make a bigger impact on people's lives. And I thought, you know what? Why not look at the youth? And here I am as a health and PE teacher.
Sounds epic, dude. Sounds very good.
Yeah.
I understand with the whole personal training thing, you know, you get a little bit over chasing clients. Unless you sort of stick in a gym for a little while or you've got a lot of leads coming through or you're pumping thousands of dollars into advertising. It can be a hard gig. And it's unfortunately, it isn't valued in the way it should be. Rather, people see it as a bit of a luxury other than a worthwhile.
Yeah, a bit of a luxury, compared to something that we kind of need, really. We need that bit of an extra push and motivation to get us getting fit and active.
Yep. So just before we jump into today's topic, so there's a few things that we're going to talk about today. Some rather interesting topics. So some of the things that you and I had a chat off camera about is we want to look at distractions
Yep.
reactions to life situations, tunnel vision, cognitive, physical, intellectual, emotional, and social development of a person's motivation. So, before we dive into that, because that's all really interesting, tell us a bit about your health and fitness journey and what interests you, and then we'll jump in.
So, my journey started when I was a kid, like every other young male in Australia. Loved playing sport. So I started off with soccer. I did a bit of tennis, cricket, a little athletics, AFL footy for a bit as well as a junior. But then soccer was kind of my calling. I felt, you know what, I'm really good at this. I'm gonna continue with this. Did that throughout high school. Growing up, I had asthma, a few skin disorders. So I had the mindset already that, all right, sweet, if I'm going to get better or get rid of my asthma and my skin, I need to eat healthy. I need to, exercise regularly. I need to look after my skin and my well-being. So that was already engraved to me at a young age, and it was just natural for me to kind of go down the whole exercise science and sporting pathway. And then, after playing soccer and playing at a decent level, dropping back down and getting injured as you do.
Yep.
I didn't really know much about strength and conditioning, sport strength and conditioning specifically. So I thought, you know what, lift heavy, run hard. That's how I'm going to get strong. But obviously, these days, that's not how it works. So I took a couple of years off soccer, then walked into a brilliant gym called the Strength Fortress. Shout out JP and the team down there. And then away we went. Became a full-blown powerlifter for the last 2 years, 2 seasons. And just finished my last comp at the fitness show. And then now I'm just having a bit of an off-season, hence, meeting you, Amanda. So that's my journey so far as a bit of a flashback.
Cool. Sounds good. So what have you learned about yourself, your body, your mindset, and your strength abilities by performing in 2 seasons of powerlifting?
I think that powerlifting is very, let's just say, intrinsic. So it's a kind of community where everyone is so supportive of each other and each other's personal best training and stuff. And obviously being a powerlifter, competing yourself, I mean, you understand how this whole community works. And I just feel like if you're there and you're putting your best foot forward, you're going to get the most out of your training, right? So whether you just like to come in and train, music blaring and go ham and tong, or whether you like to be real, pedantic and peculiar with every kind of rep. And I think with what I've learned with powerlifting is just that I used to come in and just train for the sake of training, get a bit of a sweat on. But I think with powerlifting, I've kind of looked at the smaller parts. So I looked at the minor things that kind of made me a better strength athlete as well as a general field athlete. So yeah, I think that the real little picture stuff is really kind of awakened my kind of fitness journey and my ability to do things with my body as well.
Good stuff. Awesome. Now you're really into mindset. So was there something in life that kind of happened? Did you ever have a shitty mindset? Did you ever have sort of like a path in life you weren't really happy with? Was there kind of like a turning point for you in life?
Well, just with that, like growing up, mum and dad was, we weren't really, we weren't really poor, but we weren't really kind of white collar. So we were just in between trying to make it and stuff. Mum and dad constantly working 2 or 3 jobs. So I had to grow up and have to do things at a young age, like house chores when I was 7 or 8, and kind of have to grow up and be my own kind of driver really, really early at a young age. So I was that kid that stayed at after school care until 6:30, 7 o'clock, come home, mum and dad, because they were working multiple jobs and stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like I built that resilience within myself at a very young age. It's just because these are the cards I was dealt, like obviously mum and dad doing the best they can. And, growing up here, I was like, I'm going to take every opportunity as I can. And I had a very supportive network around me with my uncle, my aunties, and my parents. But I think that's just what built my resilience and getting into sport. And I was never the most talented kid, but I was willing to work. Like as the old cliche goes,
Hard
talent
work
doesn't
beats
beat hard
talent.
work. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Hard work beats talent.
Yeah.
If talent refuses to work hard. So I was like, you know what? I really believed in that. And a lot of my favorite athletes have mentioned it in one way or another. And I just got into reading, and books were given to me, and then YouTube came along, and yeah, away we went. And that's when my love for motivational quotes and inspiring others kind of formed me into who I am today. And then I remember in year 12, a lot of my peers would come up to me and say, hey, you're into your fitness and stuff. I want to do this and this and this. What can I do? And I remember saying to one of my health and PE teachers, Mr. Marshall, I'm still in contact with him now. I was like, hey, this is what I'm passionate about. What do you think I should do as a career aspect? He goes, why don't you become a personal trainer for a bit? See how you go. And then I guess the rest was history. And then upon came teaching.
Do you
Yeah,
find
so
PE
I guess.
teaching has more substance for you than what personal training did? But what sort of
Oh yes,
so what's the impact that you get inside of that in comparison to PT? What's the difference?
So PT essentially, you've got your client. They're here to obviously lose weight, gain muscle. They've got their specific goal. But in physical education, especially in the high school setting, where you're working with young adults and they're still going through that self-identity, self-image kind of stage of their life, which everyone goes through, which is natural. So my job, and then something I get a kick out of, is that seeing them develop year after year, or just even week after week, or even from the day they walk into the school gym until the last day of the year. And I could just seeing their development over time, whether it's throwing a ball, whether it's learning a new skill, whether it's opening up emotionally and learning how to work in a team environment, or even just socially interacting. Yeah, and like just even seeing the processing and the way they're thinking and their understanding of a certain game, or see how they've applied that kind of understanding to a life situation. That's really something that inspires me to keep teaching and motivating and coaching young adults. Whereas personal training, nothing against the industry, I still have heaps and heaps of respect for personal trainers.
Yep.
Come in, you got 45 minutes. There's not much of a rapport or relationship being built, because obviously most people there training clients, you get adults and they've got their thing. They go, all right, sweet. 45 minutes in, I'm with this PT and I'm out. There's no really rapport building. Whereas with these young adults, young teenagers, you see them every day. You see them develop as a person, like from what we said before, from cognitively, physically, intellectually, emotionally, and socially as well. See their development getting better and better. So that's something that really, really sits deep with me.
Okay, excellent. So let's unpack some of what we said we would discuss today. So let's look at the first thing. So distractions. What about distractions?
I just think distractions from what you want in life, really. So I do say it takes a while for what you want. And just the way we educate our kids now, it's just like, all right, sweet. You need to kind of have your world and have your life plans by the time you finish year 12, right? So that's what I went through. I'm sure you went through that as well.
Yeah.
Amanda growing up in Australia, but
sure did.
Obviously now with a bit more life experience, that's not how the way the world works, is it? So I just think a lot of my senior students or my mid-range students, they come to me, sir, I don't know what I want to do when I leave school. I'm like, that's okay. As long as you enjoy what you're doing and you're not distracted by the things that aren't going to improve your journey. So obviously it's the journey. Like it's the biggest cliche in the book, not the destination, it's the journey. Yeah. I just feel like if young people these days, especially in this day and age of social media and technology, if they focus on their own journey and not worry about any of the other stuff they see on the gram or Facebook or Snapchat or TikTok as well.
Yeah.
I feel like they'll get the most out of their development as a person, as a young individual. Doesn't matter if they do know where they're going or they don't, as long as they're not distracted by other things that will bring them down, essentially bring their spirit down. So that's why I always say to my young people at school, just keep doing what you're doing. As long as you're not hurting others and you're focusing on yourself, you will find something you enjoy.
The problem with
So,
that, the problem I think with telling someone so young,
mm,
where we live in a world now where everything is so driven about fame and notoriety, and people, anyone who's anyone these days can acquire fame, notoriety, and essentially people are putting their self identity based on the amount of likes, followers, views that their social accounts are receiving. And now TikTok has really taken off, and now anyone who can put up a 15-20 second video, get a few thousand or million views, maybe potentially earn money. I just think, how do you go about as a teacher, as a coach, encouraging young students? Because I mean, this is your market. You've got
mm-hmm.
your message is fairly broad, not just to your students, but to all of society today, young or old. What sort of strategies would you say to some of these people? Because it's very hard to, how can I say this? It's all fine and well to go, yes, keep doing what you're doing. But if them doing what they're doing means that they are suddenly different to everybody else in their group, and as we know, once you start becoming very different, you then feel ostracized from your group and very independent and all the rest of it. Back when we were growing up, it was probably a little bit more easier to be independent, whereas these days people are so codependent on likes, follows, and actually just feeling somewhat popular. How do you penetrate some old school values then into your students, besides
I think
just that?
Good question, by the way, Amanda. It's a bit of a thinker. So I think with my students, it's obviously down to what their interests are, right? So I know for a fact Instagram has removed that whole likes, and I think the reason being is I think the CEOs, they wanted people to focus on the audience's content, so what they're producing. So I think what I say to my kids, obviously stick in your own lane and do your thing. But to me personally, it's all about happiness, isn't it? So I've got friends and people I know that earn $100,000 a year, but every single time you see them, they look miserable or really, really tired.
Yep.
I got mates that earn not even half of that. They wake up and they're so happy. They're part of a few indoor soccer teams or whatever it is, and they're all right. You know what? Let's go and attack life. So I always tell my kids, you know what? You need to value the intangible things. So I've said this more than millions of times because obviously this is the world they've grown up in. This is like what their reality compared to people like you and I, where we've seen the old school and we're a part of the new school. So we've seen a bit of both.
Yeah.
But I always tell them, you know what? Whether it's VCE, VCAL, PE, science, whatever you want to do what makes you feel happy. So I do know growing up in the Vietnamese community. So fortunately enough, my parents aren't the stereotypical Vietnamese people who would like their children to be doctors, engineers, lawyers and stuff.
Yeah.
They were always ingrained to me, hey, son, we're going to love you no matter what you do. Do what makes you happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to become a teacher. I'm going to become a coach. And I still didn't know what I wanted to do until I was 23, 24. And the same thing I tell my kids from my own life experience, do what makes you happy. So if you feel like validating yourself on Instagram makes you happy, yeah, do it. But then you need to kind of evaluate and think, all right, how's this going to help me achieve my goal? How is this going to put me in a happy mind state? And a lot of the kids these days, you'd be amazed, they can like distract themselves or like, extract themselves from their social media. And look, you know what? Switch off, do my own thing.
Yeah.
So I always tell them, always preach to them, be happy and do what makes you happy. So if you think getting a trade and doing VCAL is what you love doing, you're hands-on, and that makes you happy, do it. Like, I know it's a bit of, there's going to be knockback at the start, especially from parents from like a bit of an ethnic background who they expect, their kids to do really well, kind of thing. Yeah, or like become doctors or engineers. But if you feel like, you know what, that's not you, don't do it. At the end of the day, I know you're 18, but you're still very, very young, and you're still yet to discover life's kind of ups and downs. So I always say to them, no matter what, do what makes you happy. Whether VCE, VCAL, PE thing, if social media is there to help you, right?
Yeah.
So
So
it can be distracting.
what sort of response do you get from your students? Have you seen like a student struggling and really seen a really big shift in anyone in particular? Do you find that that you might sort of get a little bit of resistance from them, and then as they kind of see what you're about and what you're trying, like the message that you're trying to spread, do you get a whole bunch of respect from people, from these students rather? I mean, what are some of these students, I mean, do you discuss sort of like their career paths, what they want to do? Are they too young to really be talking about that at this stage in life?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
with my year nines and tens, more they do come to me for advice. Obviously, we've got the career counsellors and advisors and stuff, but sometimes they just come for a general chit chat.
Yep.
And like I said, I reiterate, hey, do what makes you happy. And like, I've got a really good rapport with one of my students. So I'm fortunate enough that I've developed that over the few years I've been working at this school. And they do come to me, but they also, some of them at the start go, oh, but that's not what other teachers or my parents want. And I'm like, well, at the end of the day,
What do
you're
you
the
want?
one that's, yeah, what do you want? Yeah, because
Mm.
like, yes, us teachers and parents are here to help you. I'm not saying rebel against us and older adults and stuff, saying, like, adults know best or whatnot. But you need to kind of communicate what, honestly, to these people, what you really want.
Yep.
And then, like, us adults will understand that just because you want that now, next semester or 6 months later, you might want something else, which is fine. It's all about growing up, right? That's all a part of growing up.
Absolutely.
So,
Things change
yeah,
all the time when it comes to
yeah,
career
so,
paths and even just what you want. Sorry, I just had to turn my heater on because it's bloody getting cold
it's
now.
all right. All good.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good message to send to the kids, is that,
Yeah.
definitely don't try and just keep your parents happy, because,
Yeah.
what your parents think is a good, honest career,
Yeah.
may have been a good, honest career in the 80s or the 90s. No disrespect to any parents out there. Kids of today have way more options, have probably a greater chance of making it bigger on YouTube than they do as a doctor, just saying, if they had content that is valuable that they could discuss. And that is the age that these kids are born into now. So, I mean, it really is, they're born into a generation of self-expression, but they have a bigger platform to now play with. And ultimately, it is about reinforcing the ability to just really understand who they are, but essentially who they aren't, and, finding their own path. And if you're helping these kids find a sense of independence, then that's awesome. It's really good.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that, right? So I think with young people, it's easier to tell them directly what your message is, because there's no filter. They're still learning that filter. Whereas with adults, this message, I don't know, between 18 to whatever it is, people lose track of what they want. Whether it's, you know what, because I've got a family, yes, I understand life happens, or, you know what, financially, or, I've made it into this job. And I see a lot of people, a lot of my friends go, oh, you know what, I'm going to take this job as a stepping stone, right? A stepping stone before I can find something in my career path. But guess what? It never happens, right? Because they get comfortable within that zone, that financial zone.
Yeah.
And whether it's financially or it's just that habit, and somewhat they get, like I said, they get distracted from their stepping stone from what they really want out of life.
It's a really good
That
point.
was so that was my whole purpose of this whole distraction thing, because you see it all the time. Like, I meet my old high school friends or whatever, and they go, "Oh, what are you doing these days?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm a health and PE teacher," and they go, "Oh, you said that when we were in year 10." I'm like, "Yeah, why, why wouldn't I, go and do what I said to do, right?"
Like it trips
But yeah,
people
so
out that you've actually followed through with that.
yeah, because I think in high school I was a bit of, bit of a larrikin, bit of a
Bit
class
loose.
clown, but yeah, a bit loose. But my mum, thanks God that I put my shit together today.
Yeah, good stuff.
But yeah, like I think adults lose track of that just because life happens, or there's like, especially now more than ever, there's like social expectation that, all right, sweet, by I don't know, say 30, I need to have my career together, or I need to have a house, or I need to have a wife, I need to have a husband, or I need to have that white picket fence, that fancy car, and that big house. But then you got to think, are these distractions, these tangible distractions, are they really helping you achieve what you want in a life, whether it's your career, your relationship goals, or whatever it is? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if you focus on your path, whether how hard, it doesn't matter how hard it gets, you will get and be happy, right? Because that's what, like, that's life, really. I guess, like, that's what you want, to be happy, right? So that's where I think this whole mindset thing comes to play, especially meeting you, Amanda. Like, it just kind of clicked. Like, and I'm like, let's do it. Let's do this podcast. But yeah,
So really
that's just
interesting
my
point.
perception of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really, really interesting point about material happiness, because it's thrown in our face every day with the commercials that we watch.
Mm-hmm.
The way movies are put together. It's just sometimes it's kind of that ladder to success is very predictable. The bigger house, bigger car. Just that whole keeping up with the Joneses type thing. And I think I'm
Yeah.
seeing a shift in society these days where I'm really noticing people are actually starting to really question what really matters in life. And this has
Yeah.
nothing to do with health and fitness. Right now, it's about what actually makes you tick inside. Like for me, okay, I'll use myself as an example. Started coaching 2016 full time. Business kicked off relatively well, was never quite kicked over the 6-figure mark, was pushing right up there though. Pretty decent money considering I wasn't charging in excess of $100 an hour.
Yeah.
The fact that I wasn't necessarily pumping out 40 to 50 sessions. I was working, moderate, maybe 30, 40 sessions at one point. Then it started to dial back. Got pretty miserable at one point.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking, all right, more sessions, more money, more sort of, I want to make more of an impact, more. But the problem with that is that it's like you're working so many hours, both in and out of the gym. There's just no time for hobbies. There's no time for anything else. So your only hobby is now also your career. And yeah, bought a new car. Yep. Living in a new apartment. Excellent. Ticked all those boxes. In the interim, my relationships were both suffering. I had no social life. And one thing I've learned this year is, obviously, I realized I needed a change of pace. Like I needed a greater purpose, and for me it was, okay, what do I want in 2020? And what I want is I want to do more public speaking where you make more of an impact. As great as personal training can be, it can also be pretty shitty at times too.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. We've both worked in the industry, commercial gyms or private studios or whatnot. And we understand I don't know how it grew like this, but that's just how, like, it's kind of grown out to be. And I think what you're mentioning there leads perfectly to our next point of tunnel vision, right? So everyone goes through it. Like, you've had tunnel vision. All right, sweet. I need to go get this house, car, apartment, or beautiful girl, beautiful guy, whatever, and this six-figure kind of income. But sometimes in life, it's like if you're holding onto a rope really, really tight, and if you keep holding, you're going to get blisters. But sometimes you just gotta let go, drop to the rope, have a look, reevaluate. And a lot of people call that setbacks, but I just feel like sometimes, like in life, it's not supposed to be always going up and up. You're gonna have to, it ebbs and flows. Like you need to
Correct.
take a step back, and sometimes that goal you set for yourself at the start isn't what you expected it to be. Because that's the thing, we always, it's just human. We always set these expectations on ourselves, like especially people very intrinsically motivated, like ourselves. So I feel like we need to kind of strip it back a bit, even reevaluate. Like even it goes back to our distractions kind of topic. It's okay to restart. It's okay to take a few steps back in order to go forward. Maybe you're going forward in a different direction, in a better path, or you're mending the said path, or even if you're mending a path and making a new path on someone else or something like that. So
Absolutely.
I feel like that tunnel vision can work both ways. So it does have a lot of a positive effect, but it also has a negative effect, as you just mentioned with what you went through.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously being on the show, I can't mention what show I've been on. Film for a show, you guys will all see it soon enough. But was very fortunate enough to be chosen for a show, which forced me to just, as soon as I found out I was on the show, I had 5 weeks left of work before I then had to fly out to Sydney and start recording. As soon as I found out, I switched off. I switched off emotionally, physically, and I was just literally going to work, ticking boxes, training clients, but I wasn't there. I was present, but I was absent mentally. Okay.
I think that's when it becomes a chore, doesn't it? Like when you just switched off mentally, like maybe slowly your job becomes a chore, and then
it was more. Yeah, it was more. No, I'm going in holiday mode now. I'm not going to stress about what to post on Facebook, Instagram, constantly pumping out content, because for me, it's like when it comes to business, I'm a bit of a pleaser. I like to make sure my clients are happy. I hate pissing people off in a business sense. I don't care about a personal sense. If you don't like what I've got to say, delete my number, unfollow. Just, you know what? I find honesty refreshing. I'm honest. If you don't like my honesty, there's 3 doors. Pick one. Fucking find your way through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just make sure the door doesn't smack your bum on the way out.
That's it. So, but when it does come to business, I'm always very mindful about how people are being treated, whether the level of service is what they expect and all the rest of it. And that's where personal training, where people see it as a luxury, it's actually quite painful at times as a coach when you're stressing constantly, never knowing at what point your client may up and leave you because they want the next best thing. So while you're stressing and wondering whether you're going to be able to pay your bills next week, your client can, you know, at any point get rid of you. And that's where it sort of had me questioning, going, right, in the next 5 to 10 years, what do I really want to do? What's going to give me more purpose? Is it working more hours? Is it a house along the water? Is it? And then I was like, just have a fucking breather, right? And so obviously going to Sydney and just really letting go of everything, every expectation, everything at all. It was no longer Amanda the coach. I then reevaluated my identity based on who I was when I had nothing at all.
It was just Amanda. That's it.
That's right.
You're simple Amanda. That's it.
And so it's
I think those times I feel like are the best times when you find out about yourself the most. Like something like you can't learn from books, from teachers, from coaches, or online content. I feel like that personal me time is crucial in everything you do, really. Like whether it's for your physical mindset, or your physical well-being, your intellectual, emotional, and even your social aspect, right? Like I feel like that time alone, that block, that you need to just shut distractions out and kind of do you. Like they say, like these kids say it all the time. You know what? You do you. So that's you doing you.
Yeah, the problem with doing you as a business person, yes, totally. The problem with that, and what a lot of business people face, is the fucking guilt of walking away from the business. You know, actually knowing when to switch off. dickhead, it's 11 o'clock, switch off. You know, when you run a business, your brain's ticking overtime.
Oh,
Going to Sydney
no.
gave me a chance to stop, to go,
Yeah.
if you want to listen to music today instead of a podcast, that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to educate yourself every day. Have a
Yeah.
breather. And I think the message to everyone is really simple. It's that live in the moment and be in the moment, in the sense that if you want to watch a unicorn cartoon, do that for the next half an hour. If that inspires you, do that. Tomorrow,
Yes.
you can pick up a book if you want to, but it's taking the pressure off yourself, going, if your house burnt down and you fucking lost everything and your business got shut down, you can't be so married to your process, to your business, to everything you think you own, because you still need to own who you are before everything else. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I totally agree with you. And I think that goes into our other point of reaction to life situations, right? So how you react and respond to things kind of dictate of who you are, and then that kind of aids your decision for your next step. So I feel like that's a very important point. That's a brilliant point to make about, you know, finding who you are. Like, who is Benjamin? Who is Amanda, right?
Yeah.
So understanding that process within yourself intrinsically, like within yourself, before you start doing these businesses and like educating youth or whatever you aim to do. I just feel like now more than ever with technology and social media, there's so many expectations. Like I said before, like expectations to do this and that by a certain age. But if you just don't get distracted and focus on what you want to do on your timeline, I think people would be much more happier if they did that, instead of thinking, all right, sweet, this is a 5-year degree, I'm going to finish it in 5. Some people finish it in 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10. There's no timeline to finish these things or, you know, hit these life goals. So I think if you have that kind of mindset where you wake up every day and obviously work towards your goals and what you want in life and your happiness, but yeah, if you just stick in your own lane, you're going to have that me time, have that balance, because in a day of life, there's ups and downs, right? There's black and white. You need to have that balance. You can't just have all the white and then all the black. So,
well, life's always going to throw you curveballs at any given time, and sometimes it'd be so unforeseen. You've then got to change course. And it's, again, one thing I was faced with this year, where I came back from Sydney thinking I would walk back into my usual, like I was at another gym. We had a bit of an agreement in place. When I came back, they changed my agreement. I then told them to stick it in a professional way, and then found myself unemployed. You know, I was fortunate then enough to be taken on by CS Fitness. But now I'm having to do that, build a whole new clientele from scratch in a brand new gym. Now, for anyone who runs a PT business will understand that is quite a slow burn, especially when the gym itself is still building a clientele. So, you know, so there's that. And now taking on a third job as a fucking Uber driver just to make ends meet. But at the end of the day, it's about working in the trenches. I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty just to make ends meet. But if I look at my life 2 years ago, where I was earning $1,800, $2,000 a week, you know, I was shopping, dropping $200-300 a week on shopping, not a problem. Living by myself, brand new car, houses next to new. I was miserable as all fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I'm pulling in between the two jobs, and I'm not afraid to admit, lucky if I'm pulling in $500, my rent is $400 a week, and I'm living off savings at the moment. But you know what? I'm actually quite happy at the moment.
That's
spiritually.
it, right?
I'm not saying I'm going to earn $500 forever. It's not forever. It's a transition period. But sometimes we've got to swallow our pride, and that if you are looking to want to shift into a different direction, you're going to have to eat a little bit of shit before you can get to your pot of gold.
That's it. You need to hustle, right? You need to, you know, have those 6, 5, 4 a.m. wake ups and go and get your own. You need to, like they speak about sacrifice, and people preach it all the time, but essentially sacrifice is what? Sacrifice is what? Doing things like you don't want to do, like doing things you have to do even if you don't want to do it. Like you just got to go through that shit. And I think that's
Yeah.
what the shit you're talking about. That hustle, like people preach hustle, especially these young pups coming through as well. They preach hustle so much. I see it with my eyes every day. They listen to the hip hop with the hip hop artists, hustle, hustle, hustle. But
Do they understand what it means though? Like, you're
I think
16 years
there's
old, kid. What do you know about fucking hustle? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
understand
You know
hustle?
what? Amanda, I wish I could say that, but I might lose my job if I do. But
Send it my way. I'll sort them out.
yeah. All right,
No.
guys. Today we're going boot camp excursion to this gym out here. But yeah, a lot of, it's good that they listen to these kind of understand these kind of things. But I realize the kids who are, and even like the adults and people I meet who are motivated, like by themselves intrinsically, they're the ones that read books, less social media. They dedicate themselves. They're real pedantic. So I've got one of my students. He's a elite runner, state elite runner. He came third in the school event for like I think 1,500 meters.
Mm-hmm.
And every time he runs, whether it's a school event, because he's essentially one of the best in the school, or inter-school sport, or something a bit high, or even just like a weekend event, always has his watch, always times his time no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, that's his kind of his tunnel vision of improving. So it's good that these young people and people listening to the hustle, but there's a difference between understanding all that. People always have the knowledge of what to do, but they don't actually do what they know. So I think with yourself and me, especially jumping this podcast and doing motivational speaking as an aspiration, I want to like bridge that gap. So from knowledge and application, let's bring that together and hopefully, yeah, people can be more inspired.
So if you look at, say, all right, where are you going in the next 6 to 12 months? What do you want to achieve?
For me, like, so
what's your message?
with that,
What's your message? If you got hired for a speaking gig tomorrow and you had to talk about 5 things, what inspires you? What burns your soul? What pisses you off? What message do you want to get out?
So if I got hired tomorrow, to be honest, I would speak about my CPIES acronym. So cognitive, physical, intellectual, emotional, and social. So for me personally, I'll do this personally as well. I have these kind of 5 streams as my goal setting pillars in life. So cognitive essentially is education, right? Or like my thought process. So how do I think? How do I react to things? Physical, obviously, health. That's health and physical fitness. Intellectual, how can I learn? How is this a learning opportunity for me? Emotional is essentially how I control my emotions, my feelings, and how I react to certain situations. And social, essentially, how big do I want my circle? Is it better to have a small circle? Is it better to have a big circle? Or is it just better to isolate myself or kind of interact with minimal people or interact with other people? So I set all my 5 goals all my goals across. I split it up into 5 sections. So if I got hired tomorrow, I'll definitely tell my story of how I learned things, growing up in the West, being Vietnamese background and growing up. I'm not complaining saying it was easy. I mean, it was hard, but it's just the way it was. So I don't know if it was hard or easy. It's just what life was for me. That's where I think my mindset and my resilience kind of built up. And like subconsciously, every time there's a challenge, I kind of thrive in it. Like I kind of thrive to do better, to look deep down myself, dig deep, and like step up. Step up to the challenge. So especially when I see my lovely students, they give up. I rather see them give a half-assed effort rather than give up and not even attempt anything at all. So
Great.
there's a
So
big
if do you ever apply this CPIES system with your students? Like, do you do that with your students, or is that more for your own sort of planning?
That's for my own sort of planning. With students, with their goal setting, with their fitness goal settings, we have obviously the SMART goals. But yeah, I would love to do this in in the subject we have, it's called student professional development.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, personal development. So I'd love to do this, but obviously it's not a part of the curriculum. And as government-based teachers, we need to teach upon the curriculum. That's what it's there for. But yeah, I just for myself. So a lot of people may have different. You may have 5 different categories. It could be, I don't know, career, relationships, family, financial, and I don't know, social or something. So I feel like if you balance these 5 things out, life will be okay. Like that's like your developmental rubric for happiness, I think. Yeah, so
Yes.
that's what I would definitely preach if I got hired tomorrow. What about yourself, Amanda?
It's really good. I like it. For me, I think it always comes back to your own personal story, your own journey, kind of like growing up for me. I mean, to give you a quick rundown, growing up in a European family, the expectation was always to sort of just work any job that was going to pay the bills pretty much. There wasn't really pressure to get a career as such. My parents were sort of happy for us to just work in a job and stay in it for probably as long as we could. For me, I was a bit of a black sheep because I was a job hopper. I probably had about 28 jobs by the time I hit 30. So my mum always said to me, I'm a Jackie of all trades and a master of none. And I'm like, no, I'm just really fucking good at a lot of things. So the more things you try, I think the way you find your passion is actually do a lot of shit in life and then you figure out the shit later on. So, and this is probably a good message. If any of your students are actually privileged enough to watch back on this, I think
I'm definitely going to put this link up.
Awesome.
I'm definitely going to put this link up and tell them all about it.
Good. Well, I'm just going to get really Gary V now on everyone's ass and say a really good take-home message for this is when I was 18, I wanted to be a fashion designer. I had my own fashion label. I used to wag school. I used to go to a boutique in the city and I used to actually make cuffs and T-shirts and my teachers didn't know. So I always loved small business. By the time I'd finished high school, I took a totally different change of course. And by the time I was 30, I turned a 20-something-year-old hobby, which was health and fitness, and turned it into a career. In between all of that, I had about 100,000 jobs, most of which I hated. So, but I had to sort of go through 10,000 identity crises, 400,000 meltdowns, average earning jobs to then go, you know what? This is what I would do for no money at all, right?
Exactly.
And I've been able to make the most amount of money, achieve the most amount of satisfaction, and all of the things I'm really good at, I can then put it into coaching, personal training. So all those skills I've acquired over the years, personal training gives me a platform to express that openly. I'm now 3 years down the track of running my own business going, personal training's been fantastic, but now I need something more. And that more for me now is I want to now talk publicly on stage and do the mindset thing because now I think I'm even better at doing that than what I am as a personal trainer. So every few years we go through cycles and go, right, this is what I was passionate about, okay? And even though I still love it and I'm still really fucking good at it, I now look at, okay, what does my heart want now? What does my soul want now? And I think it's being okay with knowing for everybody listening that every few years you may want to change course. Just make sure you know yourself enough and give yourself the freedom and the permission to know when it's time to just walk away from something that which no longer serves you.
Well, so having that in mind, Amanda, what would you say to people and say, Amanda, you don't say that because, you're not like me, you don't have a mortgage to pay or younger mouths to feed or a wife or husband to kind of financially care for. What would you say to someone in that kind of situation or someone that has that kind of mindset or that's someone that's kind of
Feels
took
stuck.
a stepping stone, stuck in the rut or took that stepping stone job and they're stuck there? What would you say to someone who's kind of...
Look, I understand it is hard when you are when you have financial obligations such as children and mortgages, and do you have a controlling partner who doesn't want you to succeed and grow and, you know, be different, you know, or do you have a partner who's actually going to support your dream in the short term and understand that it's going to be better for your happiness and potentially your relationship long term if you just allow me to do what the fuck I want to do and be who I want to be, right? It's having the chops to go, this is what I want to do, and if you love me enough, you'll support me enough to allow me to do that thing, because I'm about to have a fucking mental breakdown because I'm really not happy with where I'm at. So if you want this marriage to survive, if you want me to keep paying these bills, you're going to have to let me do this thing. And what that thing may involve is, okay, you do your 9-to-5 job, and then outside of that, you do your side hustle. And when the side hustle takes over, that's when you roll into that. So sometimes you just got to work harder before it gets easier. But eventually, you know, or again, it's about take a bit of a pay cut. If you can pay your bills, pay your mortgage, put food on the table, but you are 1,000 billion% happier, I think that's the goal of life, you know?
Yeah. That's the thing. Just keep, like shout out to Gary Vee again. Like, I think he preaches be happy. Heaps of his content's all about being happy, being kind to others, and doing others like you would do for yourself. So I think happiness is the key with our goal setting. And a lot of people watching this probably think, you know, this is so fucking cheesy. Like, duh, no shit. No, these two idiots are putting this podcast together. But a lot of people, like I said before, they know all this. They know all this, but they don't apply what they know. And
people are scared to piss people off. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Especially now with Instagram, Snapchat, it's all instant. One swipe up, and you can piss off 100,000 people. But do you know what? I'll say that, just don't be afraid to piss people off. If you feel like that's your right message, go bonkers, right? Go nuts, like you said.
I just think you're just never, ever going to please everyone, impress everyone. No matter how well you're dressed or how well spoken you are, how well educated you are, how much of a nice person you are, not everyone, there's going to be someone out there that dislikes you, and you're going to be like, really? But I'm a good human being. But it's like, yeah, but you're not for everyone, you know? So you might as well just do just do what makes your heart sing. But yeah, so that's basically it. So I think what people need to be is a lot more selfish in a positive sense. Like, you know, you're really not much good to others if you're not happy internally. You know,
especially this day and age, people spread themselves so thin. You see it all the time. But I feel like if you're just gonna take a step back a bit, you know, and release those expectations, like you said, you don't need to listen to that podcast every single day. You know, you can have weekends off, or you can have time off, or stuff like that. But yeah, you're completely right, Amanda.
Thanks, Stu.
That whole happiness thing there.
So who are you following online? Who inspires you online? Are you reading any good books at the moment?
Yeah, I'll show you. Gary Vee, big dog, love him.
Yeah. The big man.
When I was a young adolescent, I loved Eric Thomas, E.T.
Yeah.
Big dog.
He's amazing.
I think he said a quote where in one of his videos he said I think he was preaching to one of the Miami colleges for their football day or something like that. He said, you need to just keep working to when no one has to pay you a dime in order for you to do what you do. That's what passion and love is.
Yeah.
So going back to what you said before, like when you ask yourself, can I do this without the money? Can I do this for the rest of my life without getting paid? And if I'm still happy, then that's it. That's yours.
Yeah.
That's yours.
That's it.
And a couple of books. Reading this one at the moment. I got it from a good friend of mine, Wisdom of Winners. Absolutely brilliant. And then
what's that about?
So far, this one is about just your daily thought process, right? So every month I've got a kind of a goal I'll put up on my whiteboard in my room and my stuff on my vision board. And this month's goal is focus on how you react to every situation, whether good, bad. I need to control the outcome, because with me, I've identified as a person, I do get emotionally involved in everything, whether it's family, friends, football. I know my students. I try to, all right, let's bring it back now. I need to work on this month, and then at the end of the month, I'll have an evaluation. Look, maybe give it another month. Maybe tweak the goal a bit. And at the end of the month, I'll write, okay, what I did well, what I didn't do well. But yeah, this is basically, with all that, Wisdom of Winners. Really, really good book. So
Nice.
halfway through it. Hopefully I can finish that soon. And then I've got another book, Living Your Passion, coming up soon. So that's about goal setting, more motivation, and basically how to get the best out of life. Yeah.
Have you read that book too? Have you read them both back to back? Or are you still reading them?
No, it's my first time going through them. So
Yep.
reading them.
Beautiful.
What about yourself, Amanda? Any books you recommend?
Yeah, I've always got 3-4 books on the go. So at the moment I love audiobooks because I can multitask with them and I get through them in 1 week as opposed to 10 months. The audiobook I'm listening to at the moment is called Thank and Grow Rich, which is centered around gratitude. At the moment, I think, again, coming back from Sydney, coming back broken, jobless, I have seen in the past when I've found myself in very vulnerable positions in life, when I look at what I already have and I just give thanks to the things I already have and realize life isn't really that bad. Usually,
a bit of reflection.
Yep, there's usually a sort of shift in the energy in the universe, and then opportunities start to present themselves. So I'm doing a 21-day gratitude course at the moment. And so every day there's a meditation, there's a little task to do. And I'm at day 8 at the moment.
How's that all going?
It's good because one of the tasks from day 3 was to create your own group. And then it just helps to continue to spread that message. And people in that group have already seen a shift within themselves and their lives. And so it's really nice that you can have that sort of impact on other people. But more importantly, like when you sort of find yourself in a little bit of a rut and you find yourself, you get back to that negative thought process and stuff. It just helps to sort of shift things back into perspective pretty quick. But I think, again, it just helps you attract the things that you really do need in your life when you feel like you've sort of got no hope at that point.
I feel like with that as well, I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off.
That's all right.
I think reflection is important in everything. So obviously being a school teacher, every lesson we have our goal reflection to see if we've achieved our learning goal. I think in life, if you apply the same kind of method, it will be very, very beneficial. So whether you like to write your thoughts down, type it in your notepad, or just kind of speak to yourself about it, record yourself about it. So I think reflection, writing down, is very, very good, because then at that time you may be angry or happy at the time, write it down. And then a few months later, if you've got happy times or bad times, read through it again. It might trigger those emotions again. So I think reflection in everything is really good, whether it's positive or negative. I think reflection is key and fundamental to aiding someone's kind of decision making.
Yeah, I agree. At the moment, there's a Mercury retrograde happening. So from a spiritual perspective, don't know if you're spiritual. Probably not. Yes. No?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm trying to tap into it a bit more, with my emotional and spiritual side.
Cool. So for those that are a little bit spiritual or into the sort of astrology, planets, star signs, blah, 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 Mercury retrograde is happening until the 20th of November. And what that does is it puts, people often find themselves will start reflecting on the past again. And for me, it's opened up a can of worms about past hurts and things I'm now having to deal with yet again. So again, when you are sort of faced with energies which are beyond your control, the one way you sort of can take back a little bit of control and perspective is, again, applying some daily gratitude. And a few things that you just mentioned about how you can also harness and control that is reflection in the morning. So you can actually write down 3 to 5 things that you are grateful for, listening to a little bit of meditation music, and doing something like that every morning. There can be a huge shift in your entire day, in your week, in your outcomes.
Yeah. I think that relating back to our fitness goals, so obviously as powerlifters, we're very chasing numbers all the time. Sometimes forget, hey, you know what? 6 months ago, I couldn't squat this or bench this or deadlift this. And then even putting that back to clients, hey, 6 months ago, I didn't know what a squat was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so I think that reflection can re-motivate your current goal, whether it's changed or deviated. So
I love that.
That reflection is that key point of re-motivating that engine, getting that going again. Say, hey, mate, 6 months ago when you came to see me as a client or as whatever it is, powerlifter, you couldn't do X, Y, and Z. So after my last comp, my awesome coach JP, he had an Instagram story, tagged me in it. He said, you know, Benny, when he first came, I was only squatting 55 kilos for 10 reps. And then on the weekend, I PB'd at 500 pounds for 227. So that was only within 2 years. So then doing that, I feel like, you know what, this is how far I've come. And it's actually re-motivating me to chase the next number or chase the next kind of movement pattern I want to achieve. So I think reflection is crucial in everything, and applying that to life as well. I think with that as well, a lot of people they kind of get inside their head and think, oh, you know, I can't do this. But then if you kind of reflect the night before a big event or reflect before the said task, you can think, all right, sweet. Hey, I've done this and this and this. I've achieved all this. And 9 times out of 10, when people reflect, you're going to build confidence. Like, who doesn't love speaking about themselves? Like, you ask anyone on this planet, especially young people, I work with them every day, they love speaking about themselves. They love it.
That's why we get up every morning, isn't it?
Yeah.
So self-absorbed.
I'm sure there's adults out there, a lot of adults who would hate to admit it, and business professionals and all those professionals, if you speak about themselves, get them to speak about themselves, they can be there all day.
Mate, I love
that
it.
That reflection is going to motivate you to do better within yourself. So, like you said, Amanda, reflection is very crucial, whether you're a spiritual person or not.
I think it's going to be the key message, mate, for this one. I really like that. Reflection reignites your passion. I think it's so good. I think I'm going to spread that to all my clients this week.
That's it. Most definitely, mate.
Yeah, I love it. On that note, I reckon we will leave it there because I think we've done really well with everything today. We've covered pretty much everything today. If people want to reach out to you, Ben, how can they find you? What social platform are you best found on these days?
Let's go with Instagram. So Benny, BNNY .Benjamin. So Benjamin spelled BENJAMAN.
AN.
Yep. So Benny.Benjamin. So I am on private because, you know, school teacher life kind of thing.
Yes.
But essentially, you know, if you DM me, I usually would message back or see where you're all about. Yeah, and I usually accept. But yeah, teacher life. So I can't. Unfortunately, I can't. I choose not to have that on public in case any of my students do follow me. But yeah, hit me up if you want to have a chat or see me post about powerlifting stuff or football stuff or just my food adventures, my food blogs.
Yeah.
That's up there.
Beautiful. All right. Well, I'll tag that below in the comments and in the show notes, guys. So feel free to hit Benny up for any more information. Benny, you're a legend. I love the fact that you and I have
Thanks,
connected,
Amanda.
and I'm sure that you and I are going to do more stuff in the future together.
Most definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
But, yeah, guys, thank you so much. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please give the episode a thumbs up, like, subscribe, share it with someone who really needs to hear this message today. Aside from that, we are back on the podcast train. It's been quite a few months since I've actually posted one of these. So thank you so much for listening up until this point. You're a fucking legend if you have. If not, you're lost.
All right. Awesome, Amanda. Good work.
Thanks, guys. Thanks again for listening to today's episode. If you found value in the content, please take a screenshot of the podcast, post it to your Facebook or Instagram, and make sure you tag me in it. My handle on Instagram is @Amanda_DivinePhysiques. Also, if you are interested in online or face-to-face coaching, you can book yourself in for a free 15-minute discovery call. You can shoot me an email at info@divinephysiques.com. That email address will be linked in the show notes below. Thanks again for joining me on today's show, and I will catch you on the next episode.